Hello my wonderful people, welcome back to my vlog where I share the real side of living in Russia as a local, because myself, I'm a Russian, but I was born in the far east of Russia, and for now I live in Moscow for 2 years. So in today's video I want to tell you about heartbreaking story about Russian housing problem and our crazy mortgage. If you watch my previous vlogs, you maybe know that I'm in a process of deciding whether I will move out from Moscow or will stay. So for the last week I was doing a pretty big research about modern prices of apartments, of renting, of another opportunity. So let's go around this neighborhood and I will tell you about I would say crisis in Russia, because our modern mortgage is now 25%, so it's almost impossible for normal average working people to work, live, and to be able to buy an own house. So everyone in the same boat, I would say, like everyone is dealing with it how they can. This place called Headliner residential complex. It's been of my previous videos, but it was in a stage of construction. So right now they finally opened this major building. It was behind the fence, construction around, so they finally opened it. So I think this complex is the highest in Moscow. Only Moscow city is highest with skyscrapers, so this is very tall towers. I've been living here in the area, but I live in a small Soviet apartment, not in this complex, but nearby. So I'm very familiar with this place. Reality of modern mortgages in Russia is just insane, because it's really 25 or even 30%. With a first payment of around 30 or at least 20%. If you will calculate the price of apartment plus all of the percentage, so you overpaying your apartment maybe 3 times if you will pay this mortgage for 30 years. It was not always like this, it just happened a few years ago. Is that with a special military operation, our central bank they raised this ключевая ставка. I don't know how to call it in English. I will put it here, the translation. It means that now the mortgage and credit money works different. Is that it's good if you put your money inside the bank, they will rise a lot. You will get maybe 20% a year. In some banks, up to 20% you can earn from it. But if you want to get a loan from bank, it's very, very expensive. The credit is now more than 20% as well. Sorry guys for my broken explanation, but because I'm not a native English speaker, it's a bit hard for me to speak about finances and banking stuff, because I don't have a lot of terminology about this area in English. Okay, so actually before that we in Russia had the program of government subsidizing mortgages for new build housing. As far as I remember, you cannot buy like typical Hrushchevkas with this mortgage. It's only was for supporting big companies who develop new crazy apartment complexes, which we have a lot in Moscow. They're building still like crazy. Even though they cancel now the support program, the construction is crazy right now at the moment here in Moscow. It should be a really good program, because the government wanted to do it with good intentions to support construction companies and support people buying new apartments instead of living in Hrushchevkas forever. So it works this way, is that when the person wants to buy apartments, they go to bank to get a mortgage, and then they get a lower percentage, and this amount of money that bank will not get this difference the government pay to the bank, and normal people would just pay a less percentage. But what happened in reality was people who don't earn a lot of money, they still cannot afford even one mortgage and buying one apartment. Even that they cannot afford. But people who have just a little money, maybe like a middle class, let's say, they start buying apartments like crazy with this subsidized mortgage. They, for example, they buy one apartment, they rented it out, and then they save some money, they buy another one, and they buy another one. So it all creates the system where the price is rising because these developer companies, they see that, oh, we can sell a lot of apartments. That's why they start charging more money for that. And it became just more expensive for everyone, and for poor people and for rich people. So the subsidized mortgage actually created a bad effect, I guess. So they decided to cancel it about a year ago. So now we don't have any subsidized mortgages. And now our mortgages as high as 25 or even 30%. I think it's very unfair how expensive it is. And I understand that it's not only a Russian problem. Yesterday, I watched a podcast of American ladies speaking about in America it's the same. In 80s and 70s, you can buy a house for a few thousand US dollars, but how much it costs right now? It costs $1 million. So I don't know what happened to the world, but in Russia it happened the same. I remember prices from my childhood. I remember we could buy a flat for maybe $20,000. It was when I was a child. And right now it costs maybe $100,000. So in my lifetime, it grew a few times, and it's just impossible to earn, you earn and the price grows. You earn and the price grows. And what to do in this situation, nobody knows, but somehow people just doing something with it. And one of the ways how people right now can afford any apartment is that the heritage of Soviet housing that we have all around Russia. We have millions of Khrushchevkas around Russia, is that somehow our parents and grandparents, they get the free housing or very cheap housing in the Soviet time, and those houses still in a very good condition. So people inherit that housing and they sell it, and they often use the money that they can get from the sale into buying a new apartment, or a first capital to get a mortgage. I think without the starting capital, you just cannot buy it forever, because to get even a mortgage, you have to save a few million rubles to even start a mortgage, and then you will pay in it for 20 years. This is central Moscow, and if I would speak about prices in these big towers, it's high-end pricing. It maybe starts with 200,000 US dollars up to $500,000 US for big flats. Because it's just behind Moscow city, it's very central and developing locations, kind of modern and cool thriving area. So it's an expensive one. Of course, it's just a Moscow price. Moscow prices are from different dimension. So a typical small Khrushchevka somewhere in provincial town would cost around 50,000 US dollars. This side is pretty empty because they just opened it recently. Here they will open Перекресток supermarket finally. We would have a supermarket in the area, because right there we just have Vkusville, just over there. This side of the road is pretty busy because it's just been open for more than a year. They already built there a zone, pharmacies, drugstores, clinics and stuff. And this side of the road is still for rent. It reads Arenda which is for rent. It's so pretty outside at the moment. I just cannot believe the autumn will come soon. So guys, another very exciting opportunity right now in Russia is 2% mortgage. It's very low, yes, it sounds very crazy and affordable. So you can ask me like, why are you complaining about 25% mortgage if you can get a 2% mortgage in Russia? And let me explain you why. It's not available for everybody. Actually, it only works in the region or the Far East, where I'm from, Vladivostok, and in the Russian Arctic. And no one wants to go there because it's too cold, it's too dark, it's like the region beyond the Arctic Circle. And even this, it's not all. To get this subsidized 2% mortgage, you actually have to be married and you have to be young. You have to be less than 36 years old and you have to be couple. And if you're couple, both people should be lower than 36 years old, or you can be a single, but you should have a child less than 18 years old. So it's not available for normal working single people, whatever age. You need to be married, you should have child, or you can be a veteran of special military operation, or you can have a profession, like very important profession. I don't remember what it is, but maybe like a teacher or maybe a doctor. And you should get the subsidized mortgage for 2%, and you should be registered on this address, and you have to move to this region. You know, you have to live there for at least 5 years or something, or the bank will cancel your subsidized cheap 2% mortgage and you will pay 25% again. I would be really happy to actually get this 2% mortgage because it's affordable, really. You don't pay a lot of percentage of it. It sounds very easy, but I don't have any kids and I'm not married and I still have a few years to use this program, or I will do something else, I guess. It's a joke, but it's not really a joke. Sometimes in a dating app you can meet people with a description like, oh, I'm looking someone for a family mortgage. Yes, in Russia we actually have another program. We have a family mortgage. So our government really push people to get married and born kids, because if you have family, you have these available programs to get at least cheaper mortgage than 25%, you know. Family mortgage is not as cheap as 2%, but it's more affordable than 30%. I guess it's less than 10%. You need to like calculate the details and stuff, but it's more affordable, yes. But you need to be married and you have to have kids. And it makes sense. I feel like quite a few people use this kind of mortgage, and quite a few people use this Arctic and Far East mortgage as well, because sometimes people don't want to live in Moscow because they understand like why everyone needs to live in Moscow. People actually want to get out, and sometimes people can work remotely, so they actually prefer to live in amazing other places like maybe Kamchatka or Vladivostok. But still, buying a housing in Moscow, it's a very big dream and maybe not achievable goal for all people, because still Moscow is the center of opportunities. Moscow is the center of career and big money and just status. And still, if you will take all people of Russia, still a lot of people want to come here and build life here, because it's just a capital. What happened after cancellation of the subsidized government mortgage program is that renting prices went crazy up. Is because people who wanted to buy apartments, they realized they cannot afford it anymore. They cannot pay this crazy percentage. They were thinking to buy it with low percentage, but now they can't afford, so they stopped this decision of buying apartment, and they wanted to rent. So it means that it just suddenly became a lot of people who want to rent apartment. It means that renting prices went really, really up. It just happened in the recent couple of years, guys. I was here in Moscow when the prices just started to rise with this cancellation of this program. And now we're here 2 years later. Prices around maybe start around $1,000 and it's crazy because salaries didn't grow that fast, you know. I think salaries actually grew a little bit, but still not at the scale of rising the renting price. So for now, for myself, I'm really thinking what to do next. And so what I realize is that even my landlord, if she will increase the price, with the moving somewhere, or with paying to the agent, to the moving, I still will pay a lot of money. So the cost will be the same, you know. If I will live with the increased renting price, or I will just pay money for finding a new apartment and moving there, I think the price will be the same actually. So I will not save any money. Let's go and get Misha the dog because he likes to walk in the area and he needs his evening walk. So while I'm going there, you can let me down below in the comments. How much does mortgage cost in your country? How much percentage do you pay? And how affordable it is? How do you feel? We are back with Misha the comrades, but unfortunately we have to wear something pink because it's very rainy outside. Misha wearing his costume. Misha, where is your friends? Where is your friends? Where is small baby dog? There's no one outside because it's so rainy. Where are you going? Misha? Baby dog, where is your friends? Поезда не любишь, да? Не люблю поезда совсем вообще никак. А что ты там увидел? If we're going to speak about myself, I'm a bit far from buying my own apartment because in my 20s I was not making it my priority actually, because I had my exploring era where I tried different things in different countries, and I didn't even know that I would like to live in Russia. But only closer to my 30s, I decided that I will be back here. And actually only now I'm started to make a plan for it for the future. And I think it's pretty normal because everything has its own time. Thank you so much guys for clicking on this one. If you have any thoughts or ideas, you can always comment and I will read your comments and I will try to reply to the most interesting one. If you want to follow me, Lisa the Russian, and get those daily vlogs from Russia, you can subscribe to my channel down below, and I will keep you guys updated about what will happen in the future. So thank you so much guys for staying until the very end. Thank you all of my supporters, and I will see you very soon in my next one. Bye bye.